Hello, my name is Maya and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today's video is going to be a little bit different than the videos I've done in the past. I wanted to kind of branch out and make a larger variety of different kinds of videos because I found myself getting kind of bored of just making gaming videos over and over again, and I have a lot of interests and I have a lot of video ideas that don't really relate to gaming, so I wanted to make a video incorporating some of those things. I started this channel because I wanted to have fun making videos, so that's what I'm gonna do. Anyways, getting into the topic of the video, I have been an avid Warrior Cats enjoyer since my elementary school years, the ripe old age of 11. It's been one of those series that holds so much nostalgia for me that I just can't help but go back and reread them over and over and over again, even now, and I'm 21 years old, so it's been 10 years of Warrior Cats. It's kind of crazy, actually. So I've read all the way up to the most recent arc. I'm about halfway through the most recent one. I don't think all of the books have come out yet. And although I've spent so much time reading and rereading this series, I've never actually read the first arc more than once. I know, shocking. But I recently obtained the whole first arc, and so I did a reread. And there's kind of a lot that's different. Not completely different, but there was some things I noticed comparing to the later arcs. Kind of surprised me. And that inspired me to make this video. So without further ado, here are things you might not remember about Warrior Cats Arc 1, The Prophecies Begin. She'll not be happy to be appointing a new deputy, Smolier observed. Redtail served her long and well, but she'll need to make up her mind quickly. According to clan custom, the choice has to be made before Moon High after the death of the old deputy. Chapter 4, Into the Wild. It's mentioned several times in the first series, and then it's mentioned again when Firestar names Brambleclaw deputy after they declare Greystripe dead in the second arc. But after that, I can't really remember a time where this rule has been enforced or mentioned, but it's interesting because it's like moderately important to the plot of this first series. In Forest of Secrets, after Tigerclaw is exiled from the clan, he was the clan deputy, and then Bluestar is in such a shock that she does not name a new deputy before Moon High, and then eventually names Fireheart as the deputy. Also, whenever I talk about events from the book, I'm going to be calling cats by their names as they went at that point in the series, if that makes sense. So then, during Fireheart's deputyship, a lot of the clan elders are really wary about it because he was named after Moon High. Fireheart's naming broke with clan ritual for the first time I can remember, meowed Smolier in a grave tone. Why is it always fucking Smolier? I hate to say it, but I can't help feeling that his deputyship will be a dark time for ThunderClan. Rising Storm, Chapter 1. I just thought it was interesting how much this role played into the first arc, and then it's like, it almost fades out completely in the rest of the arcs. Well, meowed the ThunderClan deputy, striding up to the apprentices. It seems that Firepaw, Greypaw, and Ravenpaw are about to reach another important stage in their training. What's that? Meowed Greypaw, looking excited. Bluestar wishes you three to accompany her on her journey to the Moonstone. Into the Wild, Chapter 13. This is one of those things that is mentioned and then never enforced ever again. After this trio makes their journey to the Moonstone, there are 0 other apprentices that go to the Moonstone before becoming warriors. 0. Unless I've missed it from something, it might also be in like a super edition, but in the main arcs, this never happens ever again. This is really funny because directly following the quote I just said, Dustpaw and Sandpaw are mentioned by Lionheart, who said the quote. And it says, Lionheart didn't miss the look of disappointment on the faces of Dustpaw and Sandpaw because he added, don't worry you two, you'll make the journey soon enough. Spoiler, they did not make the journey soon enough, but they did become warriors eventually in chapter 27 of Fire and Ice, which was not the same book, but I digress. This rule is mentioned again, however, in Fire and Ice when Fireheart is trying to get a sick kit to eat herbs. He says, if you want to be a warrior, you'll have to get used to swallowing these horrible things. When you make your trip to the Moonstone, you have to eat herbs far worse than this. Fire and Ice, Chapter 15. I think this was the last mention of this rule in the books that I can remember, unless I missed something, but I'm pretty sure that's it. One of our apprentices has seen a fox in the area. Warn the other queens to guard the nursery carefully, and make sure all kits less than 6 moons stay inside the camp until our warriors have driven it away. Said by Blue Star, Into the Wild, Chapter 8. The fact that Blue Star had to clarify kits under 6 moons old implies to me very heavily that kits normally were allowed to go outside of camp. This was really surprising to me when I read this, because in the most recent arcs, under no circumstances are kits allowed outside of camp, and every time they go, they get in big trouble. Even when a warrior takes a kid outside. That's like a big no-no. And there are a few examples in this first arc where kits do leave camp and nobody thinks twice about it. For example, Fireheart and Cinderpaw take Cloud Kit outside of camp to help them look for herbs, and it's never treated as something bad that they're doing. It's not some secret they have to keep. Nobody says anything about it. And this was just, it blew my mind. Cloud Kit and the other kits in his foster litter left camp during a snowstorm, and Cloud Kit managed to catch a vole in the snowstorm, which is low-key kind of insane because he's just a baby. What other baby has been that goated? What the fuck, Cloud Kit? But yeah, this was just one of the ones that was really wild to me because of how kits leaving camp is treated in the newer arcs. In the newer arcs, both parents of a litter of kits are pretty present in their lives and in their upbringing, but that's not really the case in Arc 1. The family structure is mostly just mother raising babies and then sending them off to be apprentices when they're old enough. Most of the kits that are born throughout this series don't really have explicitly stated fathers. I think it's implied here and there, but very rarely is it ever described unless it's important to the plot, which also isn't really the case in the newer arcs. It's also interesting because the queens kind of just pop out kits and then they're not really motherly after they become apprentices. There's rarely ever mother-child, father-child relationship dynamics once kits are old enough to leave the nursery. This kind of dynamic is also mentioned by Blue Star, so it has canon reasons, I guess. When I discovered I was to have kits, I intended to bear them for ThunderClan. No cat asked me who the father was. If a queen does not wish to tell, that is her choice. Chapter 3, Forest of Secrets. And this again was super interesting to me because it's kind of implying like a larger custom of like, don't ask, don't tell. I guess the father of your children is a private reason, but this isn't really how mothers act in the newer arcs. Usually both the mother and father are there to raise and be a part of a family with their children. Like I said earlier, cats don't really interact with their parents unless it's a plot point. An example of this is Graystripe and his kits. He is super passionate about being a father to his children. Let's go Graystripe, which is unusual for a father in this first arc. But I also think this could be due to how he was with Silverstream, because he wanted to be close to her after she died, and obviously the kits were all he had left of her. The only other explicitly mentioned father in ThunderClan is Tigerclaw, and his kits, Bramble Kit and Tawny Kit, aka Bramble-Claw and Tawny Pelt. His kits become a big part of the plot later. Their loyalty is tested when he tries to get them to leave ThunderClan and join TigerClan to follow in their father's footsteps, basically. Yikes. Something that I thought was super interesting is that queens had multiple litters of kits in the nursery at the same time to a single queen. Frostfur tells me 2 of her kits are almost ready to begin their training. I want each of you to take a kit as your apprentice. Blue Star, Chapter 8, Fire and Ice. I'm reading between the lines a little bit here, but I think the fact that it says 2 of her kits implies to me that she had more kits in the nursery that were just not old enough to become apprentices, and therefore would have to have multiple litters in the nursery at once. I can't remember this ever happening in later parts of the series, so I just thought that was interesting. This whole situation is so complicated, but Cinderpelt never has a naming ceremony. Never. I thought I was crazy when I caught this at first. I was like, I had to have missed something. I had to have skipped something, but no, she just doesn't have one. She also starts being called Cinderpelt before she's a full medicine cat, which is whack. In the Forest of Secrets allegiances, she is listed as Cinderpelt, but is called Cinderpaw for the whole book. And then all of a sudden at the start of the next book, Rising Storm, she is suddenly called Cinderpelt with no indication of how her name got changed or why or when. I did some Googling when I originally caught this to try to like figure out what was going on. And there were some people that said that she just had probably become a full medicine cat in between books, but I don't think this is true, because she is still considered a medicine cat apprentice all throughout Rising Storm, in which she's called Cinderpelt. And it isn't until after Yellowfang dies that she goes through the ceremony to become a full medicine cat. Tomorrow night is the new moon. All the other medicine cats will be there too. StarClan will give me my full powers. Cinderpelt hesitated, then added, Yellowfang should have come with me to present me to StarClan as a fully trained medicine cat. Now I'll have to go through the ceremony without her. Chapter 5, A Dangerous Path. I don't know, kinda whack. Okay, this one is pretty small. It's just kind of an inconsistency I noticed literally one time. In the newer arcs and all of the arcs, the medicine cats have a meeting at Half Moon, and this meeting is mentioned pretty frequently throughout all of the arcs. But in the first one, the meeting's only mentioned like a couple of times because there aren't really medicine cats that are central characters. I mean, Fireheart is the only POV that we get throughout the whole book, so that makes sense to me. And this meeting is always mentioned to be at Half Moon, except for one time in the first arc. And this was in the quote that I just said in Cinderpelt's section. Tomorrow night is the new moon. All the other medicine cats will be there too. StarClan will give me my full powers. Cinderpelt, Chapter 5, Dangerous Path. When I first read this, I thought this was like a special meeting that the medicine cats called so that Cinderpelt could like go through the ceremony to become a full one. But I don't think that's the case necessarily, because the way she said tomorrow is the new moon so plainly made me think that it was supposed to have been Half Moon, because it sounds like it's just the regular meeting of the medicine cats. So I think this might have been just like an editing mistake, because there are no other times in any of the other arcs where a new moon meeting is mentioned. Unless I'm mistaken about that, which I might be, but I don't think so. This one's also a pretty small one, but I just thought it was interesting. We all know about Firestar and Spotted Leaf. They only spoke directly to each other in the first arc 6 times before she died. I counted them. Firestar was not even a warrior yet. He was an apprentice completely. And this was crazy to me just because of how much Firestar acts like they were soulmates, but most of their interaction happens after she dies when she visits him from StarClan. But reading this back, after reading all of the other arcs multiple times, I expected them to have been way closer to each other before they died. Like, they weren't even like close friends. They were like acquaintances at best. The main difference for me between this arc and the rest of the arcs is the atmosphere, the vibes. I feel like in most of the newer arcs, the plot largely revolves around like interpersonal relationships, and that's the main thing that moves the plot along. But in the first arc, a lot of the things that happen are environmental. They have super tough winters, there's like no prey, everybody's starving, and that visibly impacts the clan really heavily. There's also a bunch of crazy weather events that happened, which I know there's some that happen in the newer arcs, but the forest just felt more, it felt like it was more about survival to me, because there was honestly a ton of cats that died and kits that died. It felt like it was a lot more, I think high stakes is the wrong descriptor, just because like some of the things that happen later are crazy, but it was life and death a lot of the time due to more than just supernatural reasons. I also think there was just a little bit more mystery in the first arc. Like, ShadowClan is so mysterious, they're so sly, they could be anywhere. When I was younger, I found it really frustrating that the allegiances for the other clans didn't have all of the cats in that clan. I was like, I want to know who's in there. But looking back on it now, I think that was the right thing to do, because it just leaves so much up to interpretation, and I think it makes the forest seem much scarier and much more thrilling. Like, you never know who's going to be out there. And I think that's something that we kind of lose in the newer arcs, because every single cat is named. There's not as much mystery to that. But yeah, I had a lot of fun rereading it, and I'm really glad I did. If there's any details that I got wrong, or you disagree with me about something, or you just want to talk about warrior cats, feel free to leave a comment down below. I love talking about warrior cats. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for potentially more Warrior Cats videos. I would like to make more because I have so much fun reading the books and doing the research, and I had a lot of fun putting together this video. But yeah, thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.